Well, we are a podcast about soccer. Saw this morning Tom Bogert with a bit of a bombshell if you're a Vancouver Whitecaps fan. Stuart Armstrong linked with Sheffield Wednesday. Seems like it's pretty close to being done after he played, 7 games for the Whitecaps?
11. I think
Was
it
it 11?
11? Yeah.
Now, is this a case of footballers jumping ship before the inevitable sale? Is it a guy that just tried it out, didn't like it? Or what is it? A new coach comes in, not his cup of tea? What is this? I mean, for Vancouver, it's not great. We were all kind of expecting this would be the year for Stuart Armstrong to find his rhythm in MLS. Jimmy?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, going back to Sheffield Wednesday, it's an absolute monster of a club. Maybe he had a hard time settling in Vancouver. Maybe it was the turf. Turf could have been an issue as well, playing on that every day and playing matches. Maybe the travel. You don't know. There's probably a lot of things that went on behind the scenes. Maybe his family couldn't settle. You don't know. But it just seems a bit odd that he was there for such a limited time and now he's heading back to the UK.
Now, it's a good point, though, Jimmy mentions there. Wednesday is a massive club, Dubs, and we talked about this yesterday. Where is the MLS standing in global football? And it's certainly growing and making some really important strides in that direction. It's a decent league and it's getting more respect. We know that. But when a club in the league championship with the size of Sheffield Wednesday comes calling, maybe that is where what MLS is fighting with right now.
Yeah, and using or players leveraging their performance, because he kind of highly touted coming in as that DP and didn't excel right away. Took some time to find his footing, played a lot better towards the end, and then now the team's in Spain, and so maybe there was some interest there. And then from what I've read, it's understood that his family, or he and his family, were looking to get back to the UK. So, I mean, you're over there for preseason, and then maybe he's able to kind of use that. You're playing these exhibition games, you're playing these kind of preparatory matches, and you're using it as an opportunity to get seen. And you can kind of use last year's season, or at least the end of it, and the way that he performed as a jumping off point, as a selling point for you as a player. And can you remind me, I'm drawing a blank, where he came from when he joined the Whitecaps?
Great question.
Do we remember? I know he's Scottish.
Rural Road 13.
Yeah.
Okay, he came from, I've got it right here. I forget exactly. He came from Southampton, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, and actually, my friend from Quebec soccer circles, Nicolas Gagnon, is the set piece coach for Southampton. So hopefully we can have him on. He can discuss his experience. So I think he'd been linked with a number of clubs. I saw him linked with West Brom, with Burnley, and his previous club. So it looks like I had the information right in front of me before I asked you the question.
I'm also interested in, it must be so much different making these decisions at 32 years old with a family than when you're 21, 22 with no one. All you're looking for is a team that wants you and will pay you properly, right? It must change. Jimmy, like those decision-making options are so varied when you get older and have kids, or varied and have family.
Well, I think once you get to 32, you start thinking about your next step as well. And if he wants to stay involved in the game, he's better off going back to the UK. There's more opportunities than what there is here. If he stays in Vancouver for another couple of years, and he's kind of, out of sight, out of mind in the UK, really. So he's probably thinking, if I go back and if I can get a good club like a Sheffield Wednesday or even West Brom, then he's going to be he'll be setting himself up for after football.
You wonder what changed, though, because he could have gone elsewhere last year. He chose Vancouver as a DP, making pretty good money, presumably. I'm sure he had options within European football to stay there then, but he made that choice last year to come over to North America. So something seems to have happened there. Maybe it just wasn't what he expected. And I think Jimmy makes good points for sure, but that wasn't the case last summer when he arrived.
No, but he kind of battled with fitness a little bit, right? So he only played a handful of regular season matches. And then you only really started to see him, I think, playing at his full capacity, playing at what everybody expected him to be at, the type of standard, when they got into the playoffs. Right. So I think there he had some goal contributions. I think he started at least 4 of their playoff games. And they had a really poor end of that season. So he didn't feature a whole heck of a lot. And I think Jimmy's point about the turf is a really great one. So, you look at especially the West Coast teams in MLS and the buying power, the clout that some of the LA Galaxies, LAFCs have. Vancouver isn't really in that conversation, but you're dealing with the realities of that shite turf that they play on at BC Place. But it's also the travel. And I think the realities of what it means to be a West Coast team in MLS and how fucking big North America is, right? For a guy from the UK. So Jimmy is absolutely right. You go back to the UK, you not only increase your options, I think they're more streamlined as you get a little bit older. You're in your 30s, you have a family, you're thinking about next steps. You have more opportunities kind of after the game as well. But in terms of maintaining your fitness and your day-to-day, you can manage that so much better, I think, in the UK than you can as a West Coast team in MLS.
Yeah, it's well said. It's a worry though for Vancouver, isn't it? I mean, they're in this time of complete instability, not knowing what tomorrow looks like. And from a player standpoint, that's got to weigh heavy as well, you'd think. They're a good team. We know they're a good team. They're a strong squad, but now they lost to DP, which means there's a spot opened up there. I'm sure they've known about this for a while. The window opens, right? I think tomorrow is nothing officially, which is why we're going to see these kind of moves happening now. So it's not that they're surprised by this, I'd imagine. They've got some plans to bring other players in, but he was seen as, not necessarily the missing piece, but one of the missing pieces. You don't bring a DP in mid-season and don't expect him to have an impact, which he didn't really, in fairness, after with a few months. 11 games he said there, Wonga, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 11 games.
Is what I read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, sorry, I've got it in front of me. He was limited to just 6 regular season appearances, totaling 123 minutes, and then 4 playoff games.
Okay.
So maybe another cup game thrown in there.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me, too, that the scrutiny that anybody and any change, transfer, player movement will get from Vancouver Whitecaps right now, just because of all of the chaos that's going around, the selling of the team, Danny Sartini leaving, new coach. I would, maybe this was, as you were saying, Sharms, this was always in the books. He was always leaving. This is just another ordinary day for Vancouver Whitecaps.